In 1821, on a desolate speck of volcanic rock in the South Atlantic, the most feared and celebrated man on Earth died. He was Napoleon Bonaparte, the man who commanded over 70 million Europeans and redrew the map of a continent. He was the emperor who shattered old monarchies and forged an empire that stretched from Spain to Russia. Yet, he did not fall in battle. He didn't die surrounded by marshals and legions. He died in a damp, rat-infested house far from home, attended by only 28 loyal servants and doctors. The cause of death was ruled as stomach cancer, but the official record lied. What truly killed Napoleon wasn't just disease. It was psychological warfare, delivered in petty, suffocating doses by his British jailers. This is the story of the Hell of St. Helena, the agonizing, deliberate destruction of a giant. To understand his brutality, we must remember the impossible height of his power. In 1805, at Austerlitz, Napoleon was a god of war, conducting armies like an orchestra. He was invincible. He crowned himself emperor, the successor to Charlemagne. No one could stop him, until they finally did. The crushing defeat at Waterloo in 1815 was not just a military loss, it was the loss of his world. He lost his crown, his wife, his son, and his freedom. He had expected the dignity of asylum. He had dreams of America, of owning an estate, perhaps writing his memoirs. He had surrendered to the British, believing in their honor. On July 15, 1815, Napoleon famously declared, "I come to place myself under the protection of your laws." But Britain had a different plan for the man they called the disturber of the world. They feared him too much to let him live freely. A free Napoleon, even in America, was a threat, and so the sentence was passed: exile to St. Helena.
The journey itself was the first calculated move in the psychological campaign. Aboard the HMS Northumberland, the former emperor was stripped of almost all formality. His personal wealth was confiscated, and his letters were subject to censorship. He was forbidden from bringing his prized golden table service, forcing him to eat off humble porcelain. He spent weeks confined to the ship, watching the coastline of Europe, the continent he had dominated, slowly recede into an unforgiving horizon. His entourage watched as their emperor attempted to fill the void. He began dictating his memoirs to Count Las Casas, meticulously shaping his own myth for posterity. Las Casas recorded the change. His Majesty is sinking into a deep melancholy. He fears not death, but the slow, intellectual annihilation that this isolation promises. The journey lasted 10 weeks, ending on a night so dark it seemed the stars themselves had abandoned him. On October 15, 1815, they anchored off the coast of St. Helena, his ultimate prison.
St. Helena was and still is a geological anomaly, an isolated volcanic rock 1,200 miles from the nearest continent, Africa. It was perpetually shrouded in damp mist and wind-battered. It was a prison designed by nature. Napoleon was initially housed in a temporary, poorly maintained villa, but his permanent residence was Longwood House. Longwood was not a fortress, but a dilapidated colonial estate situated on the highest, wettest, and windiest plateau of the island. It was perfect torture. The building itself was structurally unsound. The walls dripped with moisture. The dampness invited pervasive mold, a known source of arsenic and old wallpaper glues, and more disturbingly, an infestation of rats. These were not just common rodents, they were everywhere. They gnawed through clothing, infested the kitchen, and reportedly even bit one of Napoleon's pages while he slept. This was the gilded cage for the man who once slept in the finest palaces of Europe.
Napoleon's true jailer was not the geography, but the governor of St. Helena, Sir Hudson Lowe. Lowe was a man consumed by paranoia and petty rules. His mission was simple: ensure Napoleon never escaped and strip him of his remaining dignity. The conflict between the two men became the core drama of the island. The first and most infuriating insult was the title. Lowe insisted Napoleon be addressed only as General Bonaparte. Napoleon, who had legally abdicated as emperor and believed himself a prisoner of war entitled to respect, refused. He retorted, "You may call me general or emperor, but I will answer only to the emperor. I am neither dead nor stripped of my status by your government." Lowe retaliated by issuing crippling, almost farcical restrictions. The sight rule. British sentries were required to see Napoleon twice a day. This meant wherever he went, a redcoat was observing him. His privacy was gone. The boundary. His riding territory was heavily restricted, forcing him to ride in tight, repetitive loops, contributing to his growing boredom and listlessness. The expenses. The budget for Longwood was meticulously controlled, forcing Napoleon's staff to argue with Lowe over wine, food, and clothing, a humiliating ordeal for an emperor. Lescazes notes in his journal, "The governor strives to break him, not through outright cruelty, but through the 1,000 pinpricks of daily indignity. It is the refined art of slow assassination." With his physical boundaries sealed off, Napoleon turned inward. His court became a miserable, claustrophobic microcosm of the world he had lost. His staff, the small circle of 28, often clashed. Boredom led to endless gossip, rivalries, and jealousy. The emperor himself adopted a strict, almost monastic routine. He spent hours dictating his memoirs, ensuring his legacy was secured. He read constantly, consuming French and English newspapers, attempting to stay connected to European affairs. He took long, aimless carriage rides, often returning quickly due to the intrusive sentries. But the routine couldn't mask the despair. Napoleon gained weight. He stopped exercising. He retreated to his private rooms, preferring the company of his memories and his books to the miserable reality of Longwood. The damp climate and the psychological stress were having a noticeable physical toll. The vibrant, decisive energy that defined him began to fade. His great escape from St. Helena was not a ship, but the preservation of his own history. By 1817, Napoleon was visibly ill. His symptoms included severe stomach pain, chronic nausea, and weakness. The British medical staff diagnosed him with hepatitis, a liver ailment, and recommended calomel, mercury chloride, for treatment, a medication known to be highly toxic. But what truly killed him? The historical debate remains one of the greatest open loops in history. Theory 1: stomach cancer, the official narrative. This is the most accepted medical consensus. Napoleon's father died of stomach cancer, suggesting a possible hereditary predisposition. The extreme stress and poor diet on the island likely accelerated the disease. Theory 2: arsenic poisoning. This theory is far more sensational and popular among historians and enthusiasts. In the 1960s, a sample of Napoleon's hair, preserved since his death, was tested. The results revealed abnormally high levels of arsenic, a potent poison. Did the British deliberately administer it? Unlikely, as official poisoning would have been too high risk. Was it accidental? Arsenic was a common element in many household items of the era, including pesticides, old medications, and, critically, the green paint and glue in the wallpaper at Longwood House. The damp environment of St. Helena would have caused the arsenic to vaporize, creating a slow, chronic poisoning. Whether deliberate assassination or environmental accident, the result was the same. Napoleon was slowly, agonizingly being killed by his prison. The final months were sheer agony. Napoleon was confined to his bed, delirious, suffering from excruciating pain. He was unable to eat or drink. His once commanding voice was reduced to faint, incoherent murmurs. On May 5, 1821, at the age of 51, he drew his last breath. His final words, purportedly uttered in a moment of clarity, were a desperate roll call of his past glories. France, l'armée, tête d'armée, Josephine. The autopsy confirmed the advanced stomach damage, but the lingering presence of arsenic, whether intentional or environmental, added a footnote of conspiracy to his end. Sir Hudson Lowe's victory was complete. He had broken the emperor. But the story did not end there. 19 years later, in 1840, Napoleon's ashes were exhumed and returned to Paris in a magnificent triumphant procession. He was finally interred under the dome of Les Invalides. The man who died with only 28 loyalists on a desolate rock was received by millions of cheering Frenchmen. Napoleon did not win the War of Longevity, but he won the War of Legend. His brutal, petty demise only served to cement his status as a martyr and an eternal giant of history. The debate over Napoleon's final days continues to this day. Do you believe he was truly poisoned by the British, or did stress and disease claim the emperor? Let me know your theory in the comments below. I read every one. And if you want to explore another story of massive power leading to a sudden, tragic fall, click on the video now showing on your screen about the rise and fall of the Ottoman Empire. We'll see you in the next story.